Welcome to Big Blend Radio's California Sequoia Country show, home to Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, Giant Sequoia National Monument and Sequoia National Forest, and the charming historic agricultural communities that make up Tulare County. Welcome, everyone. You know, it is summer in California Sequoia Country, and today we're going to talk about parks, museums, a little history, music, the arts, entertainment, events. There's so much to do in the summer, but, you know, out in the Central Valley, temperatures get warm. So that's why we're going to add in some of those museums and attractions that you can visit when it gets to those hot spells. Or maybe you want to go hang out in a waterfall in Sequoia or Kings Canyon National Park. We're going to talk about that. It is Parks and Rec Month in July, so that's exciting. We're definitely in the right destination to celebrate July. Go to discoverthesequoias.com to learn more about the region. There is a downloadable visitor guide that you can check out online, and this will link you to Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks, Giant Sequoia National Monument, Sequoia National Forest, and all the different communities that make up Tulare County, which is California Sequoia Country. So first on the show today, we have Holly Streit. She is from Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Parks. And before you go to the parks, always check their website, which is nps.gov/SEKI. Everything's linked in the episode notes. How are you, Holly?
Lisa, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good. How are things going in the parks? Are we getting a little warmer? And by the time 4th of July weekend, we're going to all want to go in a waterfall. Is that legal?
Yeah, so let's be really careful around the water, but it is busy. The parks are busy. We're expecting to have big crowds on 4th of July weekend. It is very hot out, but we want to really caution people from getting into the water. The rivers are beautiful, but they're also very swift, very strong. Even very strong swimmers can have a hard time getting out of one of these mighty mountain rivers. So there are many other options in the area. Lake Kauai is nearby. That's a great place for families to stop by and swim, but we really don't recommend getting in the water here in the parks.
Okay, well, that's good for people to know. And Lake Kauai is cool because you can kayak and boat, and then Lake Success out by Porterville. So there's water out there, but also just the beauty of, like, I love, you know, Kings Canyon, Zumwalt Meadow area, the Kings River. That is spectacular. You know, it's just cooling to be there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And there are some places in Cedar Grove that are a little bit calmer that sometimes I see visitors recreating in. And so just be really careful. That's all we, really recommend is knowing where you're at and being really, really careful around the water, especially with little ones.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you're talking about crowds being there, and I think I want to bring Suzanne Bianco back on the show from Visit Visalia, and everyone can go to visitvisalia.com. And Suzanne, I know that Visalia, it's the hub of Tulare County, right? It's the county seat. And you also, isn't that home to the shuttle? The Sequoia shuttle that that may make all, it's not just 4th of July weekend, but we know summer is the busy season. So this Sequoia shuttle really helps.
Absolutely. Of course, people are very familiar with the shuttle within the park that takes people from, route to route or to a location in the park. But there's a shuttle that operates from Visalia that takes visitors up to the park and drops them off by the museum. And from there, they can catch the in-park shuttle. It's a great way to avoid taking your car with you so that you're not spending your day driving around looking for a parking spot. It picks up at most hotels for the ride up into the park. It's very cost effective. It's only $15 round trip, and it's a great seasonal alternative for getting into the parks.
And now, does it go from anywhere else, or is Visalia the only place that it picks people up?
The routes changed a little bit this year. It goes from Visalia and stops in Orange Cove, I think, and in Three Rivers before finally heading up into the park.
Okay, so Three Rivers is the gateway, right, Holly, to Sequoia's? What, you had something there?
Yeah, Three Rivers is the gateway and it does pick up there. But also something that I hear from visitors sometimes is it's nice to ride that shuttle just so that they can enjoy the ride up the General's Highway, because otherwise when you're driving that road, it is so windy. You have to really be paying attention to your driving the whole time. And so if you take the shuttle, you don't even have to worry about that windy road and you can just enjoy the scenery the whole way up.
And it's better for the environment. Just saying. We got to keep our parks clean. So it's a cool way to do that. So there's the shuttle there, the shuttle inside the park. Speaking of roads, before we get to Tulare, I want to go back to Mineral King because Mineral King has got some road work going on, and that's a different kind of area that's less frequented unless people really know their way around, right?
Yeah, that's right. So some visitors are coming to visit Mineral King, and that's not on the main pathway into Sequoia National Park. It's about 2 miles before the main entrance into Sequoia National Park, but it is part of Sequoia National Park. And it's a 25-mile road that is also very windy, but also it's incredibly narrow. It doesn't always have room for 2 cars. There's a lot of potholes. It definitely needs this construction. What they're doing is repairing some culverts because we had some washouts with the storms. So we're really happy that this construction is happening. It'll allow better access for our visitors to that area. Right now, there's going to be 30-minute delays on that road with flagging. The visitors can expect that. Starting July 14th, it's going to go back to a schedule that also includes some closure times. So people can find that information on our website on the road construction page.
Okay. So anything else we should know about in regards to roads? I mean, we don't have to worry about putting chains on our tires this time of year, do we? Which is nice.
Hopefully we're not putting chains on our tires this time of year. If that happens,
You never know.
Interesting things happening. No, other than that, just be prepared to be a slow drive in. The entrance station can get pretty backed up on weekends, especially holiday weekends. So we always tell people the sooner you can get to the park, the better. That also includes parking. People maybe need to have a plan for where they're going to park when they come into the park. So if you're not taking that Great Sequoia shuttle and thinking about how early you can get to the park, if you don't get there before, I don't know, 9 or 10 a.m., the first parking lot is probably already full up in the Giant Forest. So then we kind of just keep pushing people back to the next parking lots after that. So, take a look at the map before you get up there. There are parking lots by the Giant Forest Museum, at Pinewood Picnic area, at the General Sherman Tree, and then the Lodgepole parking lot's pretty big as well. Those can fill up by like 1 p.m. and then you might have to start looking at the Waxahachie Lodge and places like that.
Okay, and then also just going down to Zumwalt Meadow and places like that. It's really cool. Zumwalt Meadow is like a magic land. It's beautiful in Kings Canyon. This is an epic time of year, and you get to go on one of those little bridges that float with your footsteps. Yep. So if you haven't done a suspension bridge, this is the time. And it's just beautiful and cool, and it's a nice hike out there. So we're talking about Zumwalt. So that brings us over to Julia Dix in Tulare. And Tulare, she's from Tulare Chamber, tularechamber.org. But they have a Zumwalt Park. So there's Zumwalt Meadow, Zumwalt Park, and we're going to get to who Zumwalt is in a little bit down the road. But Zumwalt Park in Tulare has gone through a big renovation and a new amphitheater, right, Julia?
Yes, that's right. It's the Adventist Health Amphitheater at Zumwalt Park. We have a lot of different activities that happen there. State Entertainment puts on a concert series. So in July, we have Toad the Wet Sprocket and Sixpence and Richer coming on July 18th at 7:30. I told some young people about that, and they were like, "Who?"
Wow, you just made me feel really great.
Yeah, me too.
Apparently the 80s is classic rock now, so I'm devastated.
But I'm excited they're coming. And, some people might think, well, outdoors concert, it's going to be too hot in July. But the Zumwalt Park is like fully up to date. It has misters to cool you off. They have, just all sorts of things. Now, the general admission is kind of in the grassy area. So you can bring your own chair or bring a blanket to sit on, or if you want to get a seated ticket, then you can have, a seat as well. But yeah, it's great. It's a great venue. It's great sound. There's food. There's other vendors there. And plus there's a playground and a splash pad. So you can bring your kids out and they can play around in the water while you enjoy a concert.
Now, how often do these concerts happen?
These concerts are about once a month right now. So I know like in June, we actually had the big one. Clint Black came. And so July is Toad the Wet Sprocket. And then August, we have ZZ Tush with Steve Teddy. And then also in August, at the end, we're having Arriba Latinos Festival with Lucha Extreme, which is really exciting.
That is cool. That's cool. So a lot of good music going. And, Suzanne, doesn't Exeter have a concert series too, I believe, in the summer? I'm not 100% sure if they're doing it this year or not, but I just remember that they used to, or they do.
Several of our communities have host some concert series. Porterville, as the local radio station, sometimes would host them around the county. So check the schedule and we'll see what's happening.
Well, now Mooney Grove, I was just, thinking about parks that are in the area. So keeping with Parks and Recreation Month, because we love our parks. In Visalia, you've got Mooney Grove, and then you've got Cahuilla Oaks Preserve, which would make a nice morning hike, or even end of day for people. So when it comes to Mooney Grove, they've got the museum there, they've got shade, there's picnics. So that's a popular thing for families to check out and do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Along with their dog park, a really recently added really fun dog park with those agility structures. I don't know what they're called. There's also an inclusive park that's there now, a newly installed, fully inclusive park that's fantastic for people of all ages with any sort of limited mobility. It's a great place to get out and enjoy. They, of course, have the lagoon. The lagoon's been completely renovated recently. So that's really fun. Young kids can fish there. So that's a great place for parents to maybe teach their kids about fishing. And the really historic arbors with picnic tables underneath it really are reminiscent of, past days. It's a beautiful, beautiful park. It's California's first county park, as a matter of fact.
Wow. That's good history there,
Yeah, the museum is fantastic. Very hands-on, by the way. Yeah, the museum there, I didn't even talk about that, but the museum is a lot of fun. So many different elements. There's 4 different sections of that museum that people can explore, from buildings that are moved to the outside to their antique farm equipment. It has one of the largest Native American basket collections on display. And of course, their cultural museum talks a lot about the different communities that settled here in our area and had an impact on agriculture. So, that's a great place to explore as well.
It's a great for our families, especially. And then every single town in Tulare County has a historical society and museum. And I love that, because you get to really understand. And that's a connection back to the parks and the forests, because people live there for a very long time. Holly, that's something for people to look at too when they go up, is Hospital Rock, right? For people to go there. And Three Rivers has a little museum for people too.
Yeah, there's a great museum in Three Rivers that's on the way up. So that's a cool place to stop. They've got a bunch of old historical photos, a lot of knowledge. It's a really neat place to stop on your way
Paul
up.
Bunyan is there.
Yeah. And also the Giant Forest Museum is in the parks, but Hospital Rock has a lot of information about the tribes and the indigenous culture that was here in the parklands. And so there's a lot to learn. All of the history is really tied together between the parks, Visalia, the county. There's a really proud history about the lands here.
That's awesome. Now, speaking of parks, going back to Zumwalt, right there by Zumwalt, near there, because of the downtown district in Tulare, is the Tulare Historical Society Museum, which I've been to. It's very cool. It's got Olympic history, because Tulare has Olympian history there. And one day I won't be surprised to hear Tulare County has the Olympics, because you've got such a spread out county. You could do it, But in the museum, they're putting a new exhibit together that's more centered around the military. I know they have a military wing in the Tulare museum, which is really cool. It's got and it represents men and women. I like that. So they're actually increasing that basically and having a new display, right?
Yes. So actually starting today, July 3rd through the 30th of August, they're having a military museum exhibit. And the connection to Zumwalt, as I know we've mentioned that, is the military leader Admiral Elmo Zumwalt will actually, some of his memorabilia will be on display as well. And for those that don't know, he was actually born in San Francisco in the 1920s and was the youngest person to serve as Chief of Naval Operations. And the Zumwalt class destroyers are named after him. And in fact, at Zumwalt Park, the playground has a replica of the Zumwalt class destroyer turned into a playground, but it's one of a kind that was custom built for the park. So it'll be really cool to go to the museum and check out everything that they have for the military museum exhibit, which their regular display is pretty amazing as it is. And so what they're going to bring for this, I think, will be outstanding. And as a Navy veteran myself, I'm really excited to see, this connection that really connects the parks to, the Kings Canyon and all of that together through Admiral Blummel.
There's a lot of generals. There's a General's Highway, there's General Sherman Tree, General Grant Tree. I mean, there's a lot going on with this. So I love all the history. And I think, Suzanne, you were talking about there's a museum that I didn't know, like the fort, like a micro museum in Visalia. I had no idea about this.
Yeah, so Visalia's Wild West history dates back to the mid 1800s, and there was briefly a Fort Visalia. I think when the people began gathering here, they were fearful of the indigenous people, so they quickly built a fort and spent the nights in the fort. And once they realized that there was no fear to be had for the local people, that they're rather friendly, they disbanded the fort and just everybody lived happily together. But now on that site is a housing complex that celebrates the arts. On the ground floor is studio space and gallery space for the residents to, just explore their artistic side. And there's a micro museum on the site that talks a little bit about the history of Fort Visalia and has a little diorama of what they believe the fort looked like. And it has historical photos of Visalia from the past 100 years or so. So it's not huge. It's really a micro museum. It's a really nice little spot to stop and get a little history about Visalia's early beginnings and a little bit of art culture as well.
And you had, Black Bart go through there too. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. You've got some Wild West history. You do. But then speaking of the Wild West, isn't there an equestrian show in Three Rivers that's happening?
Yeah. So Riata Ranch International is a fantastic organization that teaches young women to do trick riding, anything from roping, as well as doing I'm going to call it gymnastics on a horse. Some really amazing things. So they are hosting Wild West dinner and shows. Come to their the ranch in Three Rivers. The next one will be July 25th and 26th. And you can watch a fantastic show. It's really amazing, really fun. So you get a little bit of that Wild West culture, but seeing these amazing young women perform on horses is really a super fun, very family-friendly event.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We've got to think that basically Tulare County is huge on agriculture, and we've got a couple places where you can take your kids and learn about them. We'll talk back that in a second. But the ranching part and the Wild West kind of go hand in hand, Three Rivers and into the park, and that's the other part of the human history, right? So Tharp was a cattle dude, right? He was a cattle rancher, and I know Three Rivers even has a rodeo every year, and to really showcase that history. And he would take his cattle. Did he take them up that hill, or did he leave them in the park? I don't know what he did, but he has his own log.
Yeah, Tharp lived in a log by Crescent Meadow, and unfortunately he let his cattle graze there, which we now know is pretty detrimental to meadow areas. But luckily we have a great meadow crew that monitor and help restore meadows. But yeah, Tharp was there for a while. I mean, it does seem like a nice area to be if you wanted to graze your cattle, but we're thankful that now it's a protected land that can just thrive and allow for the sequoias and the really delicate ecosystem that's there that provides so much habitat for wildlife.
It's cool to go to his log though and say like, wow, he lived in this log.
It is cool. Yeah. So if anyone hasn't been there, the log is a sequoia tree that fell down and it's hollowed out. And you can still see where he had done some modifications. And so there's like a little bench, a little table. You can see where he had a chimney. So it seems quite cozy. And sometimes I do think about living in a sequoia tree.
I know. It's like if you can't hug it all the way around, you might as well just get in it.
Yeah.
We can't all hug those trees. They're massive. I mean, they really are.
Their bark is a little bit itchy too, just a pre-warning for people. They've got that itchy bark. So
well, going back to the agriculture, Julia, that's the one thing too about Tulare is you have the Ag Center and the Ag Ventures, so kids can go in and learn about the agriculture, right?
Yeah. So yeah, our Ag Ventures Museum is part of the International Agri Center, and they have hands-on exhibits. They have interactive displays and family-friendly programs, for people to learn about, the journey from, food from the farm to the table. And, it's so incredible how Tulare County is really, grows the food for the entire world. What we grow here really does feed the world. And learning how important that is and how that works, I think, is something that everyone should learn, because agriculture, I mean, if you eat and if you wear clothes, then agriculture is part of your life.
That's right, exactly. And so that's a place where you can go and see that. It's funny, you've got the antique farm equipment displays too. But then if you go over to Visalia, you've got another museum for kids, right? Imagine you that people can go and take their kids in there, and they've got agricultural displays and things like that, which is, I think we need places for kids to burn off their energy and have fun while you're on vacation, right?
Well, and it also helps teach them about these topics in a very fun way. So there are lots of exhibits that are designed for kids, probably 8 or 9 years old and younger. They can go out and have a food truck in the backyard of the museum. There is little fake gardens. They can have a farmer's market. They can learn about cows. They can learn about picking and sorting fruit. All these things that are very hands-on and fun for kids to do, but it's also teaching them a lot about where their food comes from, what agriculture means, and actually even careers in the industries.
Exactly. I think one of the things too is you can go to farm stands, farmers markets all throughout the county, and that's hot summer. It's like you can just go get plums, and I mean, like, that's huge to me. Like, I want a plum right now.
The
Really.
best time of year.
Man, yeah, and then at the same time, so you can go do those experiences. There's shops that like Naturally Nuts in Visalia that sells the nuts that you guys grow, and then Wood Lake Botanical Gardens. I always like to promote them because that is, I mean, you can see Sequoia and Kings Canyon from Wood Lake Botanical Garden. It's free. It was grown by volunteers and kids. The Wood Lake Pride Project, that's what it's called, Wood Lake Pride, yeah. And Manuel and Olga, amazing humans that should be thanked every time you see them for
Absolutely
putting this garden together. You'll see what grows, blueberries, there's oranges, there's flowers, roses. It is a true treasure of Tulare County.
Yeah, and as you wander through there, you can pick an orange and taste it. You can pick a few of the berries and taste them. And they really encourage kind of that hands-on experience. You might not know what an artichoke looks like, but they've got artichokes growing there. There's they have bananas and mango trees, and I mean, just it's ever changing. I mean, there's always something new that they have growing there. They have a little Peter Rabbit garden, which is really fun for younger kids, and it's just a really amazing space that just underscores the agricultural powerhouse that Tulare County is.
And the other thing, when you go from Wood Lake, Botanical Garden, go up to the Sequoias, then you're saying, okay, we've got, they even grew bananas down in Wood Lake. I was like, what? And you can go have your blueberries and go up and see these massive trees. And I think one of the first stops for people to really understand this magnificence is to go to like the Giant Forest Museum, right? So even the visitor centers are like museums for guests to go in. So yeah, wouldn't those be the first stops for people?
Yeah, I think stopping at the Giant Forest Museum is a great way to figure out, especially if you're coming without like a super solid plan and maybe you want to pop into the Giant Forest Museum, talk to one of our rangers, one of our volunteers at the desk, and they can help you kind of see what trails are available within the Giant Forest to walk around on and get a really up close experience with the giant sequoias. And then, all of our visitor centers have information in them similar to a museum. So they might not be called a museum, but they have all of that really great information about the spaces around us, some of the history. I know I was really impressed by the Kings Canyon Visitor Center. They have a new-ish exhibit that talks about the KMP fires that's really detailed. So there's a lot to learn at any of our visitor centers.
So the visitor centers now, is that where people learn about what to do for ranger programs? I know Sequoia Parks Conservancy is also really cool to go, and they have guided tours and customized tours, and but then there's still ranger programs going on too.
Yeah, so there's some really great ranger-led programs available, and so the visitor centers will have that schedule displayed for people to see, but you can also look ahead of time at our calendar on the Sequoia and Kings Canyon website. And then Sequoia Parks Conservancy does also offer some tours and really unique experiences, and I would suggest looking at their website as well ahead of time to see what you might, because they have things that are even happening at night. So if you wanted to do like a night sky tour, they have those available, or a sunset tour. Those are available within the park and through with rangers and through SPC. So there's a lot of stuff happening that I'd really encourage visitors to, when they're trip planning, just take a peek at.
Yeah,
especially Dark Sky Festival.
Yeah, Dark Sky Festival. Yeah, tell that's coming up too.
Yeah, so the Dark Sky Festival is in September. It's going to be September 12th through the 14th this year. So that's something that we all look forward to. I think it's really cool. They always bring in some kind of experts to talk about the dark skies. It's a huge event. So really looking forward to learning more about what they've got planned for this year.
Couple other things, and then I know that Suzanne's got an event as well to talk about. You have a fee-free day coming up August 4th, right?
August 4th is the anniversary of the Great American Outdoors Act when that was signed, and that really did a lot for our parks and public lands as far as providing some funding to help improve infrastructure. And so that's something we definitely celebrate and appreciate, and it's a fee-free day for visitors. So mark your calendars, and that's Park Service wide. So you can visit any national park for free on August 4th.
Okay, the other part is I've got to bring up the Crystal Cave because this is just such a huge part of what Sequoia National Park is about. And that's also run through the Sequoia Parks Conservancy. I know that tickets went on sale in spring, late spring, right? And I can imagine it's going bonkers.
Yeah. So all I keep hearing is that it's really like booked out, it's sold out. So definitely look and try to get tickets ahead of time. They don't sell tickets at the gate or at the kiosk anymore. So you have to have a reservation ahead of time to do the tour, but it's really worth doing. And it's worth kind of checking back and seeing if anything opens up. It's a very cool thing. One of the words that keeps getting used a lot is superlatives, which I think just means really super big things because we have the giant sequoias and then this giant amazing cave. It's a marble cave. It's been, I guess, kind of formed over like millions of years from water just running through it and dripping down with the stalactites and the stalagmites. So it's a very cool experience.
She just wanted to say that, you know.
I just want to use my new vocabulary. So it's something that I think even if people can't get to it this year, keep it in mind for your next visit to Sequoia and Kings Canyon. We're really excited that it's open again.
The other big thing is Morrow Rock.
Yeah.
That's a big rock. Cool. If you want to climb a big rock, go for it. Rock on. Or go see Toad in the Wet Sprocket, you know? Larry, that's a big rock. I mean, yeah. Has anybody here actually done Morrow Rock to the top and down?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. So in summer, do you want to go early in the morning, probably?
Yeah, I would say go early in the morning for a couple of reasons, especially in the summer. We do have some air quality issues in the space. The air quality in this region can get pretty dense and not great in the summer. So keep your eye on the air quality index and look for that ahead of time. But usually I find in the mornings, the sky is a little bit clearer, so you get that great view. So definitely go up early in the morning to get the view and to avoid the crowds because there are a lot of people going up on that rock and it's a pretty narrow staircase. And so if you get up there early enough, sometimes I've had it to myself.
Now, Holly, what's your definition of early?
So for Morrow Rock, early is definitely like before 8 a.m. And it's about almost an hour drive from the entrance. So that means early birds got to get there early. And so I know some people will go if they're like camping in the park and then they just drive through. Another thing to be aware of, though, with both Morrow Rock and Crescent Meadow is on the weekends, it's closed to private vehicle traffic between like 8 a.m. and I think like 6:30 p.m. for the shuttle buses to go through. So, but during the week, you can just drive on through. But that's something.
That's a good point for people to know. It really is. I remember going to the park to see the sunrise, you know. That's the thing, going and just be careful, but you will have that's when you see all the wildlife start to come out and listen to the birds. And camping, can people still camp? Actually, I want to go through and talk about lodging too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've got a lot of campsites are open, not necessarily all of them. We've been getting a lot of questions about Cedar Grove campgrounds. We've got one campground open there. We're hoping to get some more campgrounds open as we kind of bring in some help for plumbing and maintenance issues. So that's what we're waiting on there. But otherwise, Lodgepole Campground is open. It's a huge campground. People should look there. That's a great place to stay, to be really close to all of the giant sequoias.
So everyone go to recreation.gov for that, right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. So other hotels and lodging. So Julia, Tulare has like Hotel Circle going on because of all the hotels that were created for your big World Ag Expo that comes every February, right? And then also you've got all these other agricultural festivals that happen and antique, agricultural, antique tractor shows and all of that.
Antique Farms.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So then how many hotel rooms do you think? You've got a lot of hotels, like La Quinta.
And the Best Western, I have never thought to count how many hotel rooms there are.
But you got a lot.
But we
Yeah.
definitely have a lot.
With pools.
Of course.
And you got and shopping, downtown shopping, and then the outlet centers. I know during the summer, people I know we said we'd get home early, but there's outlet center. Let's go. Right.
And the Tulare outlets, that place is amazing with, all of the different stores that they have. You could really spend the whole day just shopping everywhere. My kids love going there for Nike and Old Navy. Every once in a while, when we want to splurge, we'll go to Coach. Well, me and my daughter will go to Coach. And of course, the Galaxy Theaters is there with their incredible seating. It's the most comfortable theater we have around. And it's a great place. If you're hungry, there's Bravo Farm. So you could really spend your whole day there eating, shopping, and watching a movie.
Very cool. So Suzanne, over in Visalia, you have a lot of hotel rooms too, even in the downtown. You've got the conference center. So there is no lodging shortage, right?
Well, no, there's a lot of hotels, a couple that are under construction, so a lot of new hotels that are coming in as well. I think that all of the communities in Tulare County make good are good support for our national parks who have very limited housing in the park. So I think that people, if they're planning a vacation to the national parks, could look in the communities outside of the national park for reasonably priced and plentiful lodging in all sorts of range, depending on how you like to travel. It could go from a full service hotel property down to limited service that's, just a real basic hotel. And whatever budget you have, I'm sure there's a hotel in Tulare County that can meet those needs.
Yeah, vacation rentals, bed and breakfasts as well. So a little bit of everything for people and camping. I think camping is good in the summer. So that's a good thing. So lastly, I wanted to go in. You have got it happening I want to talk about the Summerfest. That's coming up because that is something super cool that people should know. And then also to let people know about you've got a new community center, right? Not a historical community center being built.
Cultural center, yeah.
Cultural
a couple
center,
of things.
yes.
So in talking about arts and culture here in our county, two things of note. In July, we have Visalia Summerfest. That's July 26th at the Visalia Convention Center. It's an all-day affair, and you'll meet lots of makers and creators and artists that have their wares on display. That should be it's an indoor event, so heat is not an excuse. So come on down. That's July 26th. And then this week, our Visalia Heritage organization, they are a historic organization, are opening escrow on purchasing the historic Southern Pacific Depot building in downtown. That's in the middle of our Arts and History Center, and they are planning to convert that to a cultural center. So we're really super excited about that. There's a lot of great, culture in our area, and it really deserves to be on display. So we're really looking forward to seeing that. It's a fun building that the train still goes by it down the middle of the street. So that's always kind of takes people by surprise when they see a train that's coming down. Only comes by once a day. So, don't have to worry about it. Yeah, but
it's like Exeter there. How many times have we done a live broadcast and the train has gone by, or that lunch bell goes off? It tells everybody that it's lunchtime. It's noon. You know what time it is in Exeter.
Exactly. Well, that train that's going through Exeter is the one that comes through Visalia.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bringing you lunch. Kidding. The other thing people can do when they're traveling is to go see all the different murals in all the different communities. Tulare, Visalia, Exeter has an amazing, intense, that's kind of like, that's a whole network of murals everywhere, all throughout the county. I don't care where you go, Visalia, Porterville, everyone has murals and public art, which is another huge highlight of the area.
There was one more thing I wanted to mention. And that was, for anyone who's in town during the summer, we have yoga in Dummel every Wednesday from 7 to 8 a.m. and it's free.
That's good. Do your stretches before you hike. See, get your planking, your breathing in. Very cool. I love it. I love it. Thank you all so much, everyone. Again, if you go to discoverthesequoias.com, that will take you to a visitor guide that you can download. You can open up and enjoy. That has the information on events and all the different communities we talked about. If you go through to the community websites, you'll see their event calendar. Of course, go to the park park community, park websites as well, because that will keep you up to date of what's going on. So again, discoverthesequoias.com, and everything is in the episode notes. Thank you all, and have a happy 4th of July and a good summer. We'll talk to you soon when it's really hot, the dog days of summer.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's California Sequoia Country show. New episodes air every first Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. You can keep up with the show at bigblendradio.com, but also plan your Tulare County escape. Go to discoverthesequoias.com.